hormone is causing my health problems? How do I know which one it is? That was your question number 11, most common question on my One Thing hormone survey. And I'm going to answer that for you today. It's a great question that I get all the time. Sorry for giving you seasickness, Instagram. Hi. Hey, guys. So let's see. Journeys to Heal is here. Hi, welcome. How are you? Longevity Protocol. Oh, I love all these titles. Journeys to Heal, Longevity Protocol. I am all about that. Welcome. So yes, that's the question we're answering today. And hey, Jennifer, many of you might have that same question. How do I know which hormone? Because I got this so many times. What hormone are you talking about in the One Question hormone survey? How do I know which hormone is causing my problems? And so in an email I sent out earlier today, I said, I wish it were so simple as, you're walking down the street and you feel pain in your foot every time you take a step, and you look in your shoe, you take your shoe off and you look in it and there's a pebble, and you take the pebble out and then you put your shoe back on and you walk down the road and your foot doesn't hurt anymore. I wish it were that easy when it came to hormones, but it's not, because you have so many hormones in your body. You really have hundreds, but there are 7 main metabolic driving hormones that you've heard me talk about: insulin, thyroid, cortisol, DHEA, estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. And so how do you know which ones are giving you a problem and what to do about it is more like when you step on a fire ant's nest. How many of you know what fire ants are? Let me know in the chat. Give me a thumbs up. Give me a, I didn't create a banner today, so I'll just go to comments. Give me a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments section. Do you know what fire ants are? Because I grew up in the Northeast in New York City. I did not know what fire ants were. The only ants I knew we saw in Central Park and Riverside Park were the little black ants that they crawled on you, and they would come when you were having a picnic. Right, Jennifer, you know what they are? I didn't know what they were because we didn't have those in New York. So they would come when you were having a picnic and they would try and get your food, but they didn't bite you or hurt you in any way. These are the ants I knew from New York, and I had gone to camp in Connecticut. And so those are the only kinds of ants I encountered. When I moved to the South, I was introduced to fire ants. I'll never forget the first time. So I moved down here after I finished my residency, and the first time a woman came in and her leg was red with blisters, she said, "I stepped on a fire ant's nest. I think I need some steroids." And I didn't know what fire ants were. So in my mind, I'm thinking, stepped on an ant nest and need steroids. That didn't make sense. So I had to get consults with my local doctor friends who said, "Oh yes, fire ants are a thing." So that was my introduction to fire ants and how devastating they were. And then I think shortly after that, I stepped on a fire ant nest in my yard, and I got a firsthand account of what fire ants were. Hey, Susan, you have them here in Virginia? Okay. Yeah, I didn't know. And so then I stepped on one and I got to experience the fire ant. So they, I think pretty much on contact, give this chemical reaction that feels like a burn. That's why they're called fire ants. It's burning. So I wish hormones were as simple as the pebble, but it's more like stepping on a fire ant's nest. You're never going to figure out which one ant caused the problem because it's never one ant. So it's not like you take your shoe off and you take one ant out. There are a whole mess of ants in there, and you got to get them all off and all sorted out. And that's more like what hormone balance is. So if anyone ever tells you, well, you can tell when you get hangry, it's only your insulin. Or if you have crazy periods, it's only your sex hormones. Right? These are a lot. How many of you have heard people out there talking about how to know which hormone it is, right? If you have this, then it's this hormone problem. It's very common that you see people talking about that, but it's not so simple. It's more like you've got to sort out, if you have a problem with one of these hormones, they pull on all the others because they work together. It's like a symphony. If one person's off the beat in a symphony, is everybody else going to be able to stay on the beat? Probably not. That person eventually is going to start pulling some people off the beat, right? So if the main violin starts playing at a different tempo, eventually the violin next to them is going to start coming off of the main tempo and end up on their tempo, and then the violas, and then the cellos, and before you know it, the basses are all on the off tempo. And that's how it works with your hormones, because they're so intimately involved, like a symphony, right? There's communication constantly in a symphony among all the players. They're looking at each other, they're listening to each other, right? They're really feeling the music and the moment and knowing what should be there. When it's off, when any one person is off, it starts pulling everyone else off, and your hormones work the same way, in case you didn't know. It's not like they're in silos. And I know that we in medicine sometimes would have you think that they are in silos, that, oh, your thyroid hormone, that's only to do with your thyroid, and your insulin hormone, that's only to do with your insulin. I know that we doctors make you think that because that's what we think for the most part, but it's not that way, is what I learned when I untangled the knot that was my hormone balance or imbalance and health over 10 years ago. What I learned is that it's actually more complicated than that. All of these are like a symphony, and they communicate together, and it's impossible to have a problem with one hormone. So that's why I love it to ask the one question survey, what's the problem you're having? And so many of you said, which hormone is causing my health problems? Which hormone's causing my weight problem? You get it that a hormone is contributing to your weight problem, right? Or tell me, do you get that? Do you get it that hormone imbalance is contributing to your weight, sleep disruption, energy problems, bowel dysfunction, can't remember what you came in the room for, don't feel like yourself, irritable, cranky, depressed, anxious, migraines, skin, psoriasis, eczema? Do you guys get it? Let me know in the comment section if you get that your hormone imbalance is a part of every disorder, including high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, autoimmune disease, cancer. All diseases have at their root hormone imbalance. And if this doesn't make any sense to you and you've never heard this before, keep listening today and all the other days, because this is what I help people to understand. You know, guys think that it's only women that have hormone imbalance. Wrong. You guys have it too. And I often say that the ones who have symptoms are the lucky ones, because we know there's a problem, so we know to look further and address it. And one of the beautiful things about being a woman is, because our system is so intricate and delicately tuned, we are delicately tuned like a Ferrari, right? We cycle every day, sleep-wake cycles, have a diurnal variation. We cycle every 28 days with our menstrual cycle that corresponds to the moon. We cycle with the seasons, right? That's what makes us feminine. We have all these beautiful cycles. And that means that when you have more moving parts, more chances something can go wrong, right? A system is more easily disrupted the more complicated it is. That's why, sometimes it's just easier to have crank windows in your car than it is to have electric, because they can break. Whereas if it's a manual system, it has less moving parts that have to communicate. It's easier to work with, and it doesn't necessarily go wrong. So with our moving hormones all the time, more can go wrong, which means more symptoms, more dysfunction. So you might say, look at us ladies and say that we're the weaker sex because we can have all these problems. I say we're the stronger sex because we know when we're having a problem that needs to be looked at, whereas guys go decades and don't know that they have a problem. Whereas we women are very intimately aware that we have a problem because we have so many cycles and that can tell us there's something wrong. You're not sleeping well, your energy's not right, your cycle's not right, your period. In fact, we call it the fifth vital sign. Have you heard that? The fifth vital sign. Did you know that your period is that? I think that's kind of cool. So you guys are really quiet here. My dogs are more vocal. But yeah, let me know what you're thinking. I'm just trying to help you understand how to figure out which hormone it is. And one, hopefully you get that it's never one. It's never one pebble. It's a whole nest of fire ants. So it's all of your hormones are out of balance. It usually starts with one. However, it's really hard to figure out which one it started with when you come in the middle of the fight. So the example I like to use is my sister told me this story once about her two little girls who are now, one's in college, one's finishing high school. But when they were little, one day she came home and went up to their room and she opened the door and there was baby powder all over everything, their hair, their skin, their bed, their floor, everything in their room was covered in baby powder. And she said, what happened in here? Who started this, right? Isn't that, I see you, Paige. Comment just like you are. I see you, what you said. How do you comment live on this? So they both pointed a finger at the other one. How many of you have experienced something like that with your kids, right? When your kids have a problem and you come in the middle of a fight or a problem, you try to figure out where it started and what happens. They all point the finger at each other and they blame each other. Now, are you ever going to get to the bottom, to the truth of who started that fight? No. You're never going to get to the bottom of it, right? You could sit there for an hour and ask, okay, the one child, what happened here? What did happen here to the other one? You're never going to get to the bottom of it. So your hormones are kind of the same. When you check them, you're going to try to figure out who started it. And I have people ask me that all the time. Once we look at their hormones, we do the blood work, we do the Dutch test, and they want to know, how did this start? And it's kind of like that baby powder incident. You're never going to get to the bottom of who started it a lot of time. The point is that you test, don't guess, and you assess where you are, and then you just start unraveling it like that knotted ball of yarn. Anne-Marie is like, yeah, hey, yes, hey, Anne-Marie. Jane says 70 years old and still have pimples and breakouts. What, Jane? Right? That should not be, right? Once you I call it graduation into menopause, you just shouldn't have to deal with pimples and breakouts. That's one of your graduation gifts. So if you're having to deal with that, it's a sure sign that there's one, a hormonal imbalance, and two, gut dysfunction. And that's a whole other conversation. I got a few questions on the one question survey about skin breakouts, but not that many. So we're working our way down. We're at number 11. And then some people, Jennifer says, what is a good hormone test to request from your physician and how often should you check your hormones? Yeah, so this is the thing we've talked about a few times, and that's a great question over the past couple of weeks. So if you missed those videos, check them out on Instagram or on Facebook. About what hormones to check. So I actually polled everybody on Instagram, what percent of you have been told by your doctor we don't check women's hormones? And 75% of you told me that your doctor told you that, because that's what most doctors will say. We don't check women's hormones. And the other 25% said that my doctor checked them, but they did the wrong test and they read them the wrong way. So we've done several live talks over the past couple of weeks talking about the right tests and reading them the right way. So definitely go check those out. And in the Hormone Balance Mastermind that we're starting next week, we do the right tests and we read them the right way. Like for thyroid, we talked one day about thyroid. There are 8 different tests that you want to have done, and you have to know how to read them. Because one woman actually commented when I polled everyone on that question, she said, well, my doctor did the test, but then he looked at them and said they were normal, and normal does not mean optimal. There's a difference. So we've talked about that. And then said, but I'll give you an SSRI because, as women, so maybe you don't know this, fun fact, the word for hysterectomy, hyster means uterus, and it comes from hysterical. So the root of the term for uterus is hysterical. And they used to think that the womb was what made women hysterical. And so this is why they call it a hysterectomy. So they're taking out that part of a woman that makes her hysterical. Makes us different every 28 days or every day, right? Which is kind of insanity when you think about it. And this is the number 2 surgery performed in America, second only to cesarean section. So hopefully that gives you the pause that it gave me when I first learned that. And so your labs, they say your labs are normal when they're not optimal, and there's a difference. So you need to understand the difference. In the mastermind, I teach everyone how to read your own labs, how to do the right labs and how to read them so you can know, because most of us doctors, I don't blame them. They're great people. I'm a great person, but I only was doing what I was taught in medical school and residency. They're only doing what they were taught, and they were taught check labs to find disease and control symptoms and use drugs and surgery to do that. They weren't taught how to create health and wellness and vitality. Not our fault. That's just how it is. And so when you know better, you do better. So when I weighed 243 pounds and had chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia and anxiety and depression and all the things, I had to find a better way. And luckily I did. And that was over 10 years ago, and haven't looked back. So now it's my mission to help as many women as possible get this information and understand the truth about their health. Let's see, graduation into menopause, right, Anne-Marie? And Paige says, both my girls, 18 through 21, have severe PMDD, but different symptoms. How do we get to the answer? GYN says levels are normal, right? So this is like the traditional physician. I'll tell you, it's even unusual that a doctor would check their hormone levels, because 75% of us won't, because it's not a thing in gynecology, right? We're the women's hormone doctors, and we're not taught in our training how to check women's hormone levels. We're told that there are no normal values, that it's a moving system. You can't tell. Everybody's different. And these are all lies. We did a talk about this on Instagram and Facebook within the past 2 weeks. If you missed it, you definitely want to get that. Those are all lies, flat out lies. So when they look at the lab and they say that they're normal, the normal ranges on all lab tests are determined by what 95% of the population has. Well, look around at your fellow Americans. Are they optimally healthy? No, 60% of us are overweight or obese. So we are not optimally healthy. I saw a heart. Thank you there. Thank you guys on Instagram for paying attention. And thank you guys here for the thumbs up and the hearts. You know, the more you interact when we do things like this that you're getting value from, the more it shows the algorithm shows things like this to other people, other women who need this information. So make sure that wherever you are, if you're on with me or somebody else who's delivering value and sharing information that you find valuable, you interact and comment and share and heart and thumbs up, because then other women will see this. So you're being compared to the American population. 60% of us are overweight or obese. We are not optimally healthy. So basically they're saying you are normal for an overweight and obese person. You're good. And is that true? Do you want to be compared to not healthy people when you get your labs read? No. So you want to be compared to optimally healthy people. So that's what we do in a root cause resolution approach. Paige insisted, so good for you. And most doctors, I just have to be frank with you, if you tell them this, they're going to look at you like you have two heads. They're not going to know what you're talking about, because we are taught reference range from lab. We are taught disease diagnosis, disease management, pill for every ill. That's what we're taught. That is medicine. It's disease management. We are not trained in the creation of health and of vitality. So the PMDD situation, yeah, they probably gave you birth control pills. That's one of their favorites for PMDD, or an SSRI, but that doesn't get to the root. So you need to find somebody who can help them figure out what their hormone imbalances are. Like in the master hormone balance mastermind that just wrapped up last week. So I had mostly all midlife women because that's kind of what I specialize in, women 40 to 60, but two of them joined with their daughters who are in their 20s. So that because their daughters are having PMDD, crazy periods, all of this. So yeah, most doctors, Ika says, they don't know how to do root cause resolution. So yeah, I think that's no me. My DHEA sulfate is over 400. So it's not bad or good. She says, how bad is it? It's not that it's bad or good, but you've got to look at all the hormones together. So like just seeing that in isolation doesn't say anything to me. You got to look at all your hormones, especially the DHEA is the sidekick to cortisol. So you got to know what it's doing. You mentioned men, is testing teen boys entering puberty effective? It depends for what reason and why. Like your regular doctor can check them. Are they having a tumor? That's valid. They will do that because they're all about disease management. But in terms of, what would it be trying to find out? Is the question. So the quality of the answers that we get in with any tests that we do is only as good as the questions that we ask. If you ask crappy questions, you get crappy answers. So in mainstream medicine, the question that we ask, the questions that we're taught to ask are, is there a disease? Does this person have cancer? Does this person have a dysfunction that's so severe that I can give an ICD-10 diagnosis code? I'm sorry, yes, out of the ICD-10 manual that's this thick of thousands of disease codes, does this person have such dysfunction that I could give them a disease diagnosis that I can justify applying a pharmacologic agent to control the symptom of that disease, right? That's what the question is always in mainstream medicine. The question is not a high quality question, which would be, is this person functioning at optimal vitality that's possible for them? I'm going to say that again. Is this person's health tuned up to the degree that they are functioning at the highest level of vitality possible for them? You ask a high quality question like that, and then you start getting answers that are going to move you out of all the chronic disease and dysfunction that you've been dealing with. Can't sleep, up in the middle of the night, want to nap in the afternoon, can't lose weight, gain weight just by looking at food, can't remember why you went into a room, right? Irritable, crabby, depressed, anxious, right? Not sure what you're doing with your life. Your hair's falling out. You have no sex drive. You don't ever care if you have sex again. How many of you relate to this? This is us at midlife, ladies, right? Unfortunately, your doctor doesn't have the solution to that because all the question they're asking is, what disease does she have? So those are all the tests they're going to do and what they're going to talk to you about. And then they're going to apply drug to symptom. Lady Kate's like, me, apply drug to symptom. Oh, can't sleep? Drug. Here's some Ambien, knock you out. You'll sleep, right? Can't lose weight. Oh, it must be a calorie problem. Oh, you're eating too much. Let me give you something to knock your appetite out. Or you just need to push away from the table and do Weight Watchers. Or you just need to work out more. BS, right? It's just not true. We've talked about that over the past 2 weeks. They will just make the diagnosis and give you a drug. That's what we're trained to do. I don't blame your doctor. Your doctor's a good person and they mean well and they care. They just don't know what they don't know. I didn't know what I didn't know till I was trained. And I had to hit the wall going 100 miles an hour with my obesity and all the health problems I had to be open to learn something new. So you've got to ask high quality questions to get the answers you're looking for, right? So these are all great questions. So, all right. And again, the iPad, I need a better stand. So DHEA and sex hormone is very high. Anything else is in normal ranges. Yeah, I don't know how to sort that out. It's a complicated situation. I would have to see the labs. And Lady Kate says, I was just prescribed Zoloft for extreme PMDD. I want to switch to all natural medicine. Yes. Well, we got 2 spaces left in the Hormone Balance Mastermind, which is starting next week. And actually, there's information up pinned in my bio and Instagram and pinned to the top of the page in Facebook if you want to find out more. Ika says, so many doctors think birth control pills equal hormone balancing. Oh my gosh, that is the mantra of mainstream medicine. Birth control pill is hormone balancing, or they say SSRI is. Recently, I came across something that really infuriated me. Gotta share this. So I don't know what I was searching online, but I was somehow ended up on this website that was all these board certified OBGYNs like me, but it was made to look almost like a fancy cosmetic skincare supplement company, the website. So when you went there, it was like for women with perimenopausal and menopausal symptoms. So I was like, ooh, that's my field. I need to check this out. So I really started investigating what they're doing on this website. And what it was these doctors, all these OBGYNs got together and they created this company. I don't even remember the name, and this website where women could go for resources for perimenopause and menopause. And guess what they sold in pretty little bottles that looked like it might be a fancy feminine supplement company. And it was like I forget what they were called, like your menopause solution. And they talked about how it's going to alleviate all your symptoms and perimenopause. Guess what they sold in there? Guess what was in these pretty little bottles? Didn't look anything like the pill, those like brownish yellow pill bottles you get from Walmart with the blue caps. Didn't look anything like that. Looked like something you would get at a high-end supplement, like a Whole Foods, right? With a pretty label and, menopause support. You guys tell me what you think was in these bottles and you're just going to die. Because I want to see if you guess. Ika says snake oil. Kind of, sort of. I'm going to tell you, SSRI's Prozac. Prozac was in these bottles. And I just got livid. Went through the roof. I was like, are you kidding me? You are going to tell women that the answer to their hormone poverty, because menopause and perimenopause are states of hormonal impoverishment, is because they have an imbalance in their brain chemistry? Are you kidding me? And the thing that really got me was that these were all women, female doctors. Female doctors don't know any better. I was just like, okay, now I've seen it all. I've seen it all. So Lady Kate's like, OMG. Baker on the back step is like, horrors. Ika's like, you are kidding me. Car 69Z is like, what? Yes. Are you guys outraged over here on Facebook and YouTube or what? Insanity. I wish I could remember the name of the website because I would love to go back to it. That is I think it's robbing women of our dignity, number one. It's robbing us of our sanity. It's treating us like we're not intelligent and we don't understand what's happening to us. But this is what's happening in doctors' offices all across America. I know Nakia's like, oh my God. This is just the same thing. Did you know that not more than just over 100 years ago, if a woman had emotional difficulties, the treatment of choice was a hysterectomy. The treatment of choice was a hysterectomy to take out that which made her hysterical. Hyster means uterus from the Latin. Have what they used to do. Well, this is no better. They're not saying overtly to you, you have emotional problems. you need a hysterectomy. They're saying, well, you don't feel like yourself, so it must be an emotional problem. I'm not going to take your uterus out, but I'm going to give you an SSRI because you must be hysterical and have an emotional problem. So that actually is one of the insurance approved treatments for symptoms of menopause and PMDD is an SSRI, antidepressant, anti-anxiety medicine. Like, do you ever stop and think about this kind of stuff? That's insane. It is absolutely insane. And if you don't think it's insane, you need to think about it some more. That is insane. It's no different than saying 100 years ago, you don't feel like yourself. You have these spells, emotional problems, you're irritable, you go off sometimes you just stay home with the covers over your head. We're going to give you an SSRI because there must be something wrong. And we're going to ignore the fact that you are in a programmed state of hormonal poverty. And we're not going to look at your hormones. And we're not going to give you any hormones. I don't know about you, but this stuff just ticks me off when I really start talking about it. And you can tell right now I'm getting ticked off, but getting ticked off and staying there doesn't help. You've got to start asking empowering questions. Baker on the back steps like, you are kidding me. I kid you not one iota. Not one iota do I kid you. I am straight up. Nakia says, thank you, Dr. Karen, for giving the everyday woman how to look beyond this sick care system. She's like, hear no evil, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil, right? And a lot of doctors who do what I do, they really try not to put other doctors or the medical system under the bus, which kind of makes me upset because I think you deserve to know this. So I apologize if I seem a little passionate, but women's lives are at stake. I know that the way I felt for years when my health was miserable and I was looking at the answers that I got from my board certification, and it got me nowhere except that I thought I was crazy and insane and going to be this way the rest of my life. The hopelessness and helplessness that I felt and experienced. I know there are millions of women all over the world dealing with this and in the US that I could have the opportunity to help who otherwise won't get helped. But I have to be absolutely transparent and truthful about my profession and what's happening with it and what you're not getting, because otherwise you think if I'm just all happy, calm about it and like, oh yeah, ask your doctor to do these tests. And I know that they're not going to know the right test to do, or they're going to tell you they're doing them and they're not. I've seen that. And then when they come back, they're going to tell you they're fine. You're nothing wrong. And you're going to think you're crazy. And Dr. Kieran must not know what she's talking about, because no, my doctor checked my labs. He checked my hormones and he told me they're fine. So I'm good. And then you go home and you're like, what's wrong with me? Because I feel like crap. And Dr. Kieran doesn't know what she's talking about. If you fall for that and you think it's an easy answer and it's one hormone and that your doctor is going to know the right tests and know how to read them, and then all that happens and you're going to go home and be depressed because you're going to think what's wrong with me and you're never going to achieve your full potential. I know I'm on a rant here, but it's important that you understand this. Then I haven't done my job and I have lost the right to talk to you in any way and to possibly be the one who could help you actually obtain optimum health and live the life that you were meant to live, and not stop questioning your insanity and know that your reality is true. If there's something wrong with you, what I want you to hear today more than anything before I go, if you do not feel like yourself, if you do not feel okay in your own skin, if you are not sleeping well, if you want to take a nap in the middle of the afternoon, if you are hangry, 2 and 3 times a day where you want to eat the wallpaper, you're so hungry, and you get jittery and shaky because you haven't eaten. If you say that you never want to have sex again and mean it, if you can't remember what you went into the room for, if you get migraine headaches on the regular and have to take medication to control them, if you have psoriasis, eczema, acne, all of these things, if you have irritable bowel, Crohn's, ulcerative colitis, autoimmune disease, all these things that keep us down, and you are being told this is the best we can do, you're going to stay on these medications the rest of your life, and there's nothing else wrong, and we checked your hormones and they're fine, and take this pharmaceutical, that is not the truth. Rant over. Okay? Those are lies, lies, lies. Not being told to you intentionally. No one is intentionally lying to you. I don't want you to hear that at all. People can't give you what they don't have to offer. But what I want you to hear is, if you are suffering in any way, there are answers and there are solutions, but you're not going to get them for a $30 copay, driving in your neighborhood, parking, and waiting in your doctor's office, sitting in a paper gown with your butt hanging out in the wind for, I don't know, 30, 60, 2 hours, 3 hours. Last time I went to the doctor, I waited 2 hours. Those answers aren't there. They don't have it to give you. It's not what their business is. So I promised the day that I discovered this type of care, I was going to use it on myself to see if it really worked. And that's what I did. And it worked. I lost 100 pounds, healed myself from chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, anxiety, depression, irritable bowel, gastritis. I was a mess. That was over 10 years ago. And I'm here trying to help you get a reality check about what's possible for your life if you just say yes to yourself and start investigating where the answers are instead of knocking on the door where they aren't. And so let's see, we got a few. Ika says, I think some doctors try to convince you that you don't know anything, but we all have more personal knowledge than anyone else. Yes, you are the expert on your body. And that's something that I really rekindle for women in my programs, is the communication and intimacy that you should have with your body, that we are born with and is socialized out of us. Symptoms that your body has is your body talking to you, telling what's wrong, telling you what it needs and what it likes. But it is socialized out of us at a young age. So we think that the expert on our body and health is the doctor, and that's not true. So I teach women to be the experts on their body and how to listen to the signals and talk to their body and have a meaningful conversation. So thank you for bringing that up. We know our body's better than anyone else. Yes. Lab Girl 33, Dr. Kieran, when your program starts, which day of the week are your webinars? We haven't decided. We pull it's a democratic program. We figure out what's the best day and time for everyone who's in it, and that's when we do it. So we want it for the most people, but then if people can't attend, they can submit questions beforehand. A lot of it you do at your own time. So it's the teaching modules and the interaction with the coaches. And there is a one-on-one part where you can do one-on-ones with me and the coaches, and that's when it's convenient for you. Do you have a formula for posing quality questions? Yes. Great. See, that's a quality question right there. I love it. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm going to make this the last question because that's awesome. You just hit the nail on the head. Baker on the back step. So how do you determine a quality question? Is you look at what is your ideal outcome in a situation, right? So you look at you ask yourself, what would be ideal here? What would make this the best outcome that could ever happen? So, I don't know, cars are popping into my head. So if your car's clunking and you think, oh, I got to take it into the dealer. And I gave an example last week of the dealer, the mechanic doesn't look under your car. He just duct tapes it. And he says, okay, your car's not clunking now. You're good to go. You'd be like, what? Well, that's the equivalent of mainstream medicine. You can sleep because I gave you Ambien and you're sleeping now, so you're good. No. So what's the best outcome? The best outcome would be that I take my car to the dealer and they figure out what's clunking and they address it. But maybe I end up with a car wash in the interim, and maybe they throw in some new tires. Maybe your car's a clunker already and it's on its last leg, but you don't want to admit you have to get a new car. So maybe you think, what's the ideal outcome here is that I leave the mechanic with a new car. Okay, I'm liking this one. I'm liking this. You guys liking this? Right. That would be the ideal outcome in that situation. So then the quality of the question might be, how can I address this clunk in my car and end up with a new car? That might be a high quality question. Then the universe can jump in and start working to maneuver things so that you can get a new car. So let me tell you a story that relates to this. So a couple years ago, I went to visit my cousin in Hawaii for an indefinite period of time because I was just like living in Atlanta and it was just too much traffic. And I just was like in a kind of wandering phase, figuring out what I wanted to do with my life because I had some life changes. So I go to Hawaii and I was on a budget because I wasn't working. So I'm like, this is how much money I have to live on for the next, probably I had planned on staying 3 months. And I went with my cousin's wife to her hairdresser, and he was amazing. I immediately saw this. Her hair is just fabulous. And when I got there, I talked to him, and I immediately figured out, like, I want highlights. I want my hair cut. I want a Brazilian blowout. Some of you guys know what this, like, I wanted $500 worth of services. This is what he paid. You had to pay him for this. But I was like, that wasn't in my budget, but I really wanted to do all these things because I really hadn't done that. And while I was there, this other client of his came in and brought this puppy. Now, are you guys dog lovers? Let me know, because I am such a dog lover. And this puppy was so cute. It was a golden doodle. And they brought it in for the hairdresser. So they were giving it to the hairdresser. And so we played with the puppy and talked about the puppy, and it was so cool. So I obviously didn't have in my budget $500 for hair stuff, right? That's just an extra. But I set the intention that day of a high quality question. How can I get $500 worth of hair services from this guy for free? This was my question, high quality. And I just left it at that. Universe, you figure it out. High quality question. So as time went on, I was there like 2.5 months. And all of a sudden, my cousin and his wife, who goes to the hairdresser, and the hairdresser and his partner all decided to go on vacation from Hawaii to Las Vegas. And they said, we don't have anyone to watch the puppy. Our puppy person, when we were back in the hair salon, they were saying, oh my God, we're not going to be able to go with you to Las Vegas because the person who was going to watch our puppy canceled, and they were scheduled to go like in a few days. What are we going to do? I'll take care of your puppy. And so do you know that I had a ball taking care of this puppy for a week and toilet training it? It wasn't even toilet training. I trained it how to go out in and out to pee pee because I've done that my whole life with dogs. And do you know that I got $500 worth of hair services for free because at the last minute I helped this guy with his puppy? What? High quality question. So I love that question. What I would say, Baker, on the back step is look for the optimal outcome in every situation that you want. Don't ask disempowering questions. So a disempowering question would have been, I can't afford $500 worth of hair services. How can I get box color at the store and color my roots myself? Disempowering. Empowering, how can I get $500 worth of hair services from this guy who's amazing for free? Right? With your health, disempowering question. I keep waking up at 1 to 3 a.m. and then I'm tired and want to take a nap. Disempowering question. Doctor, I can't sleep. What can you give me to help me sleep? disempowering. Here's the answer. Take this pill, it'll knock you out. Empowering question, what causes you to be able to sleep, have optimal sleep in your body? It's all these 7 main metabolic hormones being balanced. It's having the body detoxified because that's a main sleep activity. So if you're really toxic, it's going to interfere with your sleep, right? What are all the conditions that go into making great sleep? How can I figure out which of my problems are contributing to my crappy sleep and fix those? Not only so that I can sleep well, but these root causes are also causing other problems. They're contributing to my weight problem. They're contributing to my mood and memory problems, my psoriasis, autoimmune disease, you fill in the blank, everything. That's an empowering question. Not just how can I stop waking up from 1 to 3, but how can I have the best health possible, that all my symptoms are gone, all the health problems that I have are gone, I'm off all the prescription medications that I'm on, and I look and feel amazing at 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. That's an empowering question. So I'm going to leave you guys with that. Thank you so much for your participation. The questions were amazing. I love that. So I see you guys are here like, amen, good karma, Baker on the back step, my puppy Insta, yes. And oh, you like puppies too, got it. Yes, is at Marv the Red, okay. I love puppies. I love puppies. And I love you guys too. And I want you to know that you deserve to have brilliant health at every age. If you think you might be interested in joining us for the Hormone Balance Mastermind, please click the link in my bio up at the top on Instagram, or click the pin post on Facebook, or if you're on YouTube, go over to Facebook and click it. It's on my page at Kieran Dunstan MD. We would love to have you. We have 2 spots left. You are so welcome. Thank you, beautiful ladies, for joining me today. I will talk with you tomorrow. Mwah. Goodbye and many blessings. Bye-bye. Whoops.